Hello, everybody. This is Dissonant Waves, episode 41. We got,
Damn, we're up to 41. What the fuck?
yeah, we're actually doing this podcast.
Uh, that's not even including minisodes or
No,
well, we done. How many minisodes have we done? We've done like
12,
six or something.
8,
12.
12. Wow.
12, damn.
So we're on
Wow.
episode 53, technically.
Damn.
King Gizzard is our 52nd. So that's a whole year of episodes.
Yeah.
But we're not at episode 52 yet, so we can't call it quite a year personally. Well, whatever you want to do. It's your life. Live it how you want it. I'm Dominic.
Look,
Tricks and Riddle are here as well.
I'm currently also in the middle of some nice game development for the first time in so goddamn long. So I'm having some fun with that, and I'm finally not fucking up the RAM of it. So that's a tick. Everybody celebrate.
It feels like you were making that game last month. The
Yeah,
pandemic has fucked everything up.
I made it like, and so people who I don't know what the fuck I'm on about and therefore have never looked at the link in the description below, been on for kids or github.io. You can also catch me at my YouTube channel. Uh,
That been tricks.
I had this project that I made started this year, end of last year. I decided, hey, I'm gonna go ambitious. I'm gonna go try and make an RPG inside the console, inside the command console. I already had the engine and stuff for it, so I'm like, let's just make it. All I had to do is make the game. Don't have to worry about anything else. And I spaghetti coded the shit out of it, so it became
Spaghetti.
terrible
It's like
to
as bad as
fucking
Yandere
maintain.
Dev.
Yeah, Yandere Dev was fucking much worse. That one is someone who didn't really know how to code, so they just go, okay, if this, 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 around a million times, and not fucking doing that. Wasn't that the one where it's like where he has like this whole file just on a breast physics?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah,
I wouldn't know.
And then
fucking
somebody came along and remade the game with more content and way better. 2 weeks.
yeah. And like half the time that was supposed to be like originally stated, but yeah, I originally was working on it. It got really hard to maintain. I kind of lost a lot of will. I think I the way that I was doing it was great to start off, but as it kept going on and on, it just wasn't doing any. It wasn't doing it. It was really hard to design. So now I'm completely redoing the game.
I mean,
I'm
after the
changing my
success
design
that
for
is
it.
Dinsey Plains, the sky's the
Whimsy
limit.
Plains is the greatest game of all time, and
It is.
yeah, it's also it's definitely helping me when coming into the podcast and listening to music because I can nut game dev without any music playing whatsoever.
Can't really live life without any music playing whatsoever, I found.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Case in point, I was just listening to the 20th anniversary again, whilst doing some dev right before we started recording.
That's a perfect segue into announcing our 3 albums this week. If you didn't listen to the last episode, we're going to tell you what they are again. That's Powderfinger, Odyssey No. 5, 20th Anniversary. That's Kendrick Lamar's To Pimp a Butterfly. That is Balue's Quiet Dreamer. And
Which one shall we start with?
let's start with Balue. Let's just get our toes wet and get on with it.
Toes wet.
I did not do the thing Tricks asked and listen to this while there was a sunset. I literally did not have the time to do so. I apologize.
Fair enough.
And-
It's understandable.
And here in Australia, there are no sunsets.
Only sunrises.
Only sunrises, thank you. Nah, just nah, I would not have the time. And I'll tell you what, I actually went for something that's a bit more fitting. I listened to this while playing the new Tony Hawk, and
Fair enough. Yeah.
it's great background for Tony Hawk, but I can only remember Man in the 60s.
That seems to be the one that most people remember.
That's his most famous song, and it's the song that
Yeah.
got me into the album.
It's like 8 million streams on Spotify, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah,
something
it's
crazy.
it's kind of funny, it's kind of catchy, but like, you know what, like
It reminded me of Hot Flash
this-
Heatwave.
this- yeah, I was gonna say this is a weaker Hot Flash.
Yes. Also, there was sometimes he wanted to be Lorenzo, but he could not be Lorenzo, unfortunately.
Yeah, Yeah, the way I just excuse me, the way I discovered this is actually Man in the '60s played after Ghost 1997 or 1998.
Ooh,
Like Spotify autoplay.
I mean, good opener.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't hate this album. It's not even close to the bottom of this year compared to some of the other forgettable stuff. But like, it's really, this is one of those ones that just kind of comes and goes. I don't want to be like too mean because this one hasn't been picked for its quality. It's just been picked for, as you say, vanity.
Yeah.
I mean, part of me thinks that there's not really a lot going on here that's anything unique or special. And I think maybe that's kind of a mean qualifier. I don't know. Part of me wants to be kind of mean like that. But yeah, part of me is just kind of like, in the way that, like, was it Cave Boy was forgettable? I didn't hate Cave Boy for being forgettable. Like, it wasn't great,
I
but
still can't remember a single fucking bit, a single second from Cave Boy.
but I wasn't miserable listening to it. I know I wasn't.
I do have one question for you guys. Did you listen in stereo with both albums in?
Yes.
Yeah.
The problem was
That's a necessity for this album because at one point when I was listening to it on like when I was first getting into it, it made me nauseous at some point. The stereo panning effect that he did.
He very clearly says in his Bandcamp, "This is headphone music" in like all caps.
Yes, it says it on the album itself.
But I was not always happy listening to this album. I was at points kind of just miserably slogging through it.
Never got that bad. It kind of just like, again, it helps I was playing Tony Hawk's Full Star. I was listening to it most of the time, so but it's not like miserable to get through. I don't think I would ever put the album on in full again. I might listen to Man in the '60s. I mean, maybe I'll go back to it. Maybe I'll say, "Hey, why did I hate this again?" Or "Why did I not like this?" And then I'll listen to it and I'll remind myself. I mean, this one's. I could be wrong. I could be absolutely wrong, but I don't think it's a grower. I think like what you hear on your first listen is pretty much just going to stay the same.
You're not going to grow up on the album.
I was intrigued.
Hey, you want to kick tricks on the podcast?
My joke fell on deaf ears.
I was intrigued to learn more about Mr. Balue, Mr. Eli Thomas. Unfortunately, there wasn't really much to learn. Like, he's an adult. I don't know how old he is, but he's a dad. He has his kids.
Late 20s, if I had to guess.
Yeah, I don't know. But he's surprisingly
headphone music on the back of the album.
He's surprisingly quiet and reserved and lives in the desert, I guess, for a musician.
Yeah.
I mean, I personally never really go into looking too much into artist discographies and stuff like that, or their history on first listen, just unless like the album really goes like, oh, I want to know more about him. And this album was just one like I don't really think it matters the context going into it.
No, I mean for the podcast I do it because I think someone needs to do it.
You could tell me his dad died or something like that, and going out of it probably wouldn't hit too different.
No, I agree. Like it's not, a crow looked at me.
No.
Yeah. There's no lore.
And it's not that that's a bad thing when it comes to albums or anything, but
No.
it's just that, yeah, that's the problem with this album. It's like it could have all this context and everything, but it doesn't matter because coming out of it, there's just nothing really interesting. I mean, it screams a debut, which is what I think this is. Is it a debut trick? It's not? All right.
His album Worry Tubes, or EP Worry Tubes, came out first.
Well, EPs... This is debut album. That still counts, I think.
Yeah, no, that's Rory Tubes is an EP, so this is a debut album. That's a bit more forgivable.
I don't like
because I mean,
even
it's like, well,
go ahead.
We fucking can't get the proper timings right. Oh, that was two false starts. But yeah, like
go for 3.
I'm just gonna stay quiet.
Yeah, fair enough. It's like if you come into like a very generic, uninteresting, and just trying to do a bunch of random songwriting on a debut, it's fine. A lot of artists have done it. I mean, we can talk about Powderfinger's debut when we get to Powderfinger, because my God, there's a reason why no one talks about it. But if this was something like, there's a band called Tonight Alive. They're Australian kind of metal core, whatever you want to call them. They put out an album 2018.
Mhm.
Right, I listened to it and I thought this is kind of generic, kind of uninteresting, but it's all right as a debut. And then I found out that that was their 7th album,
Fuck.
and I just instantly just said, okay, now fuck it, I ain't giving this another listen.
I think I don't know. Forgot what I was gonna say. Fuck.
I do that to people.
Oh, what I was gonna say is that in the realm of like this kind of music that is not my favorite, but is alright for what it is, I'll still throw on Hot Flash Heatwave. I own that album. I don't mind owning that album. Like,
Yeah, so do I. Did
I
you
have
pick it
both
up on
of them
Bandcamp?
on vinyl.
no, I bought it on digital back when we did that episode.
Ah, I picked it up on CD afterwards, and I do not regret it because I still listen to Malibu every once in a while.
And keep in mind, I was not the big fan of Hot Flash that you two were. So like,
I mean, I still put Hot Flash as number 3 that week.
oh yeah, but even then, I was not as big of a fan. Like, I would prefer that maybe over like Last Dinosaurs and that kind of stuff. But
See, the fun was
this
that no one hated Last Dinosaurs when we did the ranking, but like YouTube had just completely forgotten it.
But I would put this below all of that. Like, below Adult Mom, below Last Dinosaurs, below Autism, below Beach Bunny, Adult Mom, I think I said.
I think, yeah, I think this is probably the least interesting album that we've covered in this style of, what do we call this? Lo-fi surf pop?
Lo-fi bedroom dream
Yeah.
surf pop stuff, rock.
Yeah.
The trick special.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think this is probably the least interesting. I mean, Surf Rock is Dead was another one that we did that we kind of forgotten to talk about, but I feel
Surf Rock is that at
I
least
feel
had good at first impression that kind of wore off over time.
the song Diabolic is still good off that. And actually, yeah, I mean, both these albums have like that one big song, and then if you ask me what's better, Man in the 60s or Diabolic, it's probably Diabolic.
As we figured out, post graduation is just Twilight Zone by Golden Earring. The riff at least is.
I'm sorry to say, I'm
Unfamiliar
not
with that song.
yeah, I'm not that familiar with Golden Earring besides Radar Love.
Twilight Zone is like the other song that they have.
I would have to believe you on that, apparently.
I know. I always heard it as a kid growing up on like classic rock stations, so that maybe it's just an American thing. It's not a bad song. It's just that it's like a thing that you definitely hear now. It might just kind of be like a Green Day, Neutral Milk Hotel, My Dream Girl Don't Exist situation, but
Yeah.
definitely threw me for a loop when I heard it, and it's like I mean, Twilight Zone is not that obscure of a song. I don't think, but I mean, if you haven't heard it, Riddle, I don't know.
I haven't heard it either.
Yeah, I've probably heard it, but just can't remember it.
Yeah, honestly, I would give it a listen. It's worth listening to at least once. It's a fun song.
I've never been big into Golden Earring, as we can tell.
So I only know the 2 songs. That's it.
Well, that's still more than me.
But Golden Earring's Golden Earring. Maybe we'll get to them on the podcast one day. Who knows what we'll do in 3 years.
Oh yeah, that riff is identical. Damn.
Oh yeah, you listening to it?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if I've really got much else to say about this, and I don't mind vanity picks being chosen. God knows I fucking pick as much as I can, but it is admittedly a bit frustrating when you don't have much to talk about.
I think I got better as it went along. I think West Coast Bros was kind of alright. I think Quiet Dreamer was the best song, for sure.
Quiet Dreamer is like the only other one that I can kind of remember, but like
It was the one that was acoustic and not dream pop.
Yeah.
So that was like automatically like a bit more refreshing.
It also helps that it gets overcrowded by the better acoustic closer.
Yeah. Not kidding.
I don't know. I don't really have much else to talk about. It's consistent. I give it points for that. It doesn't really do much else, though.
I feel like the songs lead into each other pretty well. It flows well.
Yeah.
I had the Taco Cat
Yeah.
problem where too many of the songs kind of started in the same way, and I started really noticing it. We kind of just start with kind of that dream synthy, kind of just like, ooh, it's a dream kind of thing.
There.
I don't know. I did not also dig the guy's like kind of whiny singing, and I like my share of whiny singing. I think it can work really well. I just don't think it worked well here.
Assuming as Oliver Tree got a #1 from all of us.
Yeah, it can work really well. I just don't think it really did anything special. If anything, if I liked anything, really, it was the backing tracks for this week for this album.
Yeah. Again, this was just an album that like hit me in the right spot at the right time.
That's fair enough. Obviously, I've had albums which have hit me harder than they hit you too. Something for Kate.
I like Something for Kate, all right.
I'm still more pissed at Tricks put Jelly of the Month Club above Something for Kate.
Hey, I've listened to Jelly of the Month Club since. I have not listened to Something for Kate since.
And therein lies the problem.
I'm like worried I'm partially going deaf or something, because this is the second album in recent memory that has the voices mixed super, super low for half the songs.
It's just low.
Like, because it was this and Slift, where it's like those voices are super low.
Yeah, I think it adds to the dreamy synth poppy kind of vibe.
Yeah. Just going through my notes to see if there's anything else worth saying. Oh, they have a noisemaker sound to Man in the 60s. That was fun to hear. Yeah. There's not much else, yeah. That was all. I'm not even say it was alright. It was an album that we listened to. An easy #3 for me. I'll just spoil that right now.
Yeah, no, that's pretty much my thoughts as well. I don't know if I can really give a best or worst song. I mean, yeah, I guess best is Man in the 60s, but you're comparing an orange to another orange, which is a bit smaller.
I think my favorite song is probably Quiet Dreamer, just for being acoustic and different. I think the song I least liked was When I Wanna, because it just seemed really fucking whiny. And also was the point where I was like, why are all these songs fucking 4 minutes long? They don't need to be this fucking long. Also, he was already reusing his tricks by then. Yeah. That was just a point where oh wow, this is really an album of just this style with not a lot of variation.
Tripping at the Beach was pretty different.
Yeah.
It had a bit more of a punk rock dig in.
Yeah, it was a little more dynamic and percussive, and that was kind of nice, I guess.
Tripping at the Beach.
Apparently the song was known as Beach Trippin' at first or something. I was looking at his Facebook page for the band. And there was art that said Beach Trippin'. That was fun. Yeah. Let's Tricks, do you have any favorites and least favorites?
Favorites for me, I really like West Coast Bros and Charming Flow.
West Coast Bros was alright. I'll give that a solid recommendation if you want to listen to this album. That was alright.
I will. When I Wanna is probably my least favorite off the album. I think Distant Memory Time is a great opening track because it kind of just sets the scene for the whole album.
Charming Flow is probably a song I didn't like either, but either way. Do you have any dislikes, Riddle, any stand out to you?
Nah, not really.
Alright. Well,
it's pretty odd.
Well, speaking of Charming Flow, then let's move on to Kendrick Lamar's To Pimp a Butterfly.
Fish, when you and I was walking, now I run the game, got the whole world talking King Kunta, can't say the rest of this song, probably get cancelled.
What's the cancel? I just wanted to say real quick, I picked this album because this is the album for me that, like, I liked rap, I liked hip hop before. You know, I'm a white guy, you know, I listen to it, I like it. This is the album that really got me, like, to understand it and like it at a deeper level, where it wasn't just about, oh, this tune is nice, you know, oh, the backing track is really cool.
That you are the most likely out of all of us to pick the most critically acclaimed albums of all time?
Yeah, I forgot that To Pimp a Butterfly is like literally one of the most acclaimed albums of the entire 2010s.
It was considered the greatest hip hop record of the last decade.
Which probably explains its influence on me, because like I said, this is the album where I'm like, oh, there's a lot more going on here. There's a lot of layers. It's kind of like literature in the way of like you're just kind of sifting through and kind of just having the whole thing flow over you, and it's kind of like a world of its own. You know, it's
just
not
a reminder that
yeah.
Snoop Dogg appears on not only one of the best albums of the last decade, but one of the worst albums of the last decade.
What is that? The worst one?
Corey Feldman's Angelic to the Core.
Damn.
He's on the song Go For It, which if you haven't heard that song, you just need to. It's
link me later. I'll listen to it.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I'll get the link up, but we'll watch it after.
But I would say, I mean, obviously, I'm not a black man. I don't know that world, and this is, you know, I'm an outsider, kind of just listening to it and trying to understand and like get, you know, trying to glean what I can from it. But just the sounds that Kendrick is putting in this album, just the flow he has through like All Right and and like, oh my god.
Yeah, I has to be one of the most underappreciated songs off this album already.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's actually really good.
I'm gonna be honest. This is one of those albums that grew on me.
And that's the thing too. I want to say is like when I first listened to it, I liked it, but it was like I was just into like King Kunta and The Black and the Berry, kind of overlooking everything else because it didn't have a sick beat, right? And then getting into it now, like doing it for this podcast and like just having that 5-year gap since then, it's made me appreciate it more and more and more every time I listen to it.
It took until you for me to get into it and understand.
Ah, man, you was cool too. Loving you was complicated, you know?
Yeah.
Oh, man. Like, it was the thing I was reading about with David Bowie, where they were saying how Black Star was influenced by this album, where he's just kind of like, he just kind of does what he wants, Kendrick, on this album. And it's very true. Like, you don't know what's going to happen moment to moment almost sometimes. It could just change up dynamically. They could just put something in. They could go back to I Remember You Was Conflicted, the spoken word thing. It really is whatever it wants to be, and I really appreciate it for that.
Yeah,
I still think that I Remember You Was Conflicted part gets so overdone in this album though. I don't mind that it exists, but it just happens way too many times that it just like it hits that little bit less each time.
Maybe it doesn't bother me like that, I guess.
For me, it does. Like, I guess it does. Obviously, it doesn't. I feel that way for everybody. A lot of people consider this album to be 10 out of 10, absolutely perfect, and I don't agree with that. I think there are still some moments in here that just don't do it for me. I still think this is fantastic. Don't get me wrong, but I do think this album does get a little bit overhyped.
Maybe. I mean, some of these songs are. I mean, some of these songs are legitimately some of the best songs of the 2010s. Like,
oh yeah, King Kunta and
All Right. It's just
and All Right's pretty. I don't know. I like All Right, but I don't even consider that top 3. Black of the Berry and I are like above All Right for me.
I mean, All Right was kind of co-opted by the Black Lives Matter movement, and it's become like a chant thing. So, it culturally, at least in America, it's become a defining song of the times. Oh boy, but like, I don't know. What were you two's kind of history with this album before this?
Never listened.
I'd listened to it like once, I think, a long time ago. I mean, I'm not the biggest Kendrick Lamar fan. I do like a lot of his songs. I actually liked Humble when it came out, even though Damn kind of was a massive disappointment. I
I
still
mean,
like this album, but like it just Damn was a disappointment. Anybody who's telling you Damn is a 10 out of a 10, it's just a blind love for Kendrick. That album has so many issues.
it won a fucking Pulitzer Prize.
Uh-huh.
I'm not a hip hop guy or gal. I just don't
Just
really listen to too much.
to put on the importance of awards, just remember that Barack Obama won the Nobel Peace Prize, and then straight after it went with I forgot who was the Prime Minister of Australia at the time, and talked about bringing more troops into the war that was happening at the time.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong.
So,
I mean, I think this is the defining album. I think. I like Damn, but I think this is the album.
yeah, no, this is better than Damn by a long shot. I mean, Good Kid, Mad City's pretty good as well.
And like to bring
Especially
forward,
with, swimming pools.
yeah, to bring forward what we listened to before. Flying Lotus is the producer of the first track, Wesley's Theory, which is a great opener. Just kind of sets the whole mood. And like it even brings up the Pimp a Butterfly right in the beginning, so it's kind of there throughout.
Which I actually read into what to Pimp a Butterfly was supposed, like what it actually meant, because
Right.
that was the only question I had going into this is, okay, what the fuck does that actually mean? And apparently it was originally called To Pimp a Caterpillar as
it was like a whole homage to Tupac.
Yeah, it's like I was trying to think what the word was. They called it like acronym, but like something in front of it, and I didn't want to say it wrong. But yeah, it was supposed to be a reference to Tupac, and then they're just like, let's call it a butterfly instead.
Well, they explain it in Mortal Man a bit about like, I think it's kind of like how the caterpillar is like a being, and they see the butterfly. The butterfly is different, but the butterfly is also kind of them in a way, and then they understand what the butterfly represents, and so they use the butterfly, they pimp the butterfly for their own benefit. Something like that. Maybe I'm entirely fucking it up, but kind of using the thing that they will become, like the true self, for their own benefit. I don't know. Something along those lines is what I got out of it. I think it has something to do more with like kind of things that we don't understand, of like growing up in Compton with the gangs and then going away from the gangs and coming back, and kind of reconciling those worlds. There's a lot that happens in this album. There really is.
We are not like the target audience for this album.
No, but I don't know. I still really appreciate just musically everything, and like what he's just talking about, subject to subject, just kind of flying through everything.
Yeah.
Like going on about it, like this dick ain't free and for free was wonderful. Like that's like jazz rap. That was really cool. Just like the trombones and shit. And he's just flowing.
I don't know if I don't know if I actually have too much to say about this album, because I think the actual music theory behind a lot of the beats and stuff are fascinating, but nothing so interesting that I really want to talk about it. I mean, King Kunta is the highlight. I can't talk that much about the lyrical content, especially about all the all the prison stuff and the well, obviously this talks about a lot of black people who died in the streets due to police actions, like the Trayvon Martin.
That wasn't police. That was just a man and like being neighborhood watchman and taking law into his own hands.
And then he bragged about it.
That's a little different, but it was kind of like one of the catalysts that kind of brought this whole thing to a head.
Yeah, again, that shows how much I know.
And you're in Australia, so that's
dangerous ground again, Ritalin.
I'm just like saying I don't know enough about the content on here to really make any comments around it.
But we have Thundercat's all over this album, like he was all over Until the Quiet Comes. So that was cool.
Thundercat's great.
Snoop Dogg, like you said, I'm glad we finally have Snoop Dogg on the show. If we pay him enough, maybe he'll guest for us.
I hope we don't do the album Bush, because I listened to that a couple months ago and I just hated it. It just did not hit me at all.
Oh boy. Maybe we'll do Snoop Dogg eventually. I don't know if it'll be Bush, but
as just a strange aside, how has Thundercat not been sued by Warner Bros. Yet?
I don't know.
It's a good question.
Maybe they work something out.
Maybe. Because I mean, he's using the name of the '80s cartoon basically, minus the S.
I mean, let's see. There's a lot of samples, obviously, in this album. I think my favorite sample is the beginning of Hood Politics with Sufjan Stevens there. I think it's the guitar bit.
Sufjan Stevens is the actual best hip hop producer in the world.
Have you heard his cover of Hotline Bling? It's amazing.
I have not heard it, unfortunately. I think that's something I'm going to have to add to a list.
A do not listen list.
Yeah, probably.
And
I got much. You've got more.
Like I know you like to do the thing with the albums that you really like about going song through song, but I'm kind of afraid to in a way because they're like, this is not really stuff I'm well versed in talking about in that way because I'm not Black. I don't have this experience.
You can talk, I guess, about what tunes that you like Tune Rise. I mean, I can talk about like King Kunta, despite that one I kind of know what they're referencing. Isn't that the story about I don't know too much about it, but the person actually got their legs cut off, which is what it's referencing. I can't remember what the actual story is off the top of my head, and again, I don't want to be the person putting in any false claims here.
Well, it's kind of referencing the show Roots, which was like a '70s miniseries. The main character was Kunta Kinte, and so I think, yeah, I don't remember if his legs get cut off or not. It's been a long time since I've seen Roots, but
well, that's the line. Everybody wants to cut the legs off him.
Maybe. I saw Roots when I was like 12 in school, so it's been a while.
But that's one where the actual beat just it's funky as hell.
Yeah, when I was listening to this for the first time, all those years ago, yeah, it was like King Kunta's great. It's the beat, and it's like not really paying attention to me like through everything else. But I don't know. I still really enjoy that. I still really enjoy All Right. The thing that really surprises me though, like looking at like the singles, how the singles came out, I was first.
Yeah, I was in 2014.
And so in a way it makes sense weirdly because it has the whole world premiere opening. Like, like kind of like announcing Kendrick, to like an audience. And so in a weird way it works, but also in the context of the album, it's kind of like trying to figure out where is he, why is this happening like so close to the end of the album, It's kind of like an interesting thing to try to figure out for me, at least. I don't know.
As just an aside, I want to say that Thundercat's Twitter is a fucking trip.
Yeah.
I've never gone through it.
I just want one of you to go and just look at his second post under his pin post, like his second most recent post.
Where's his goddamn Twitter at?
Is it Ashy Daddy?
Yeah, it's Ashy Daddy at Thundercat.
Oh. I see that, but I also see the Evangelion picture as well, so I'm cool with that.
Yeah, it's a trip. I'm scrolling through it, and it's like there's the photo of him there's the Kirby meme where he's sucking on the watermelon that's labeled me. I love
the first comment for that picture that you're referencing, and someone just said Beyblade action.
Oh God.
I'm not seeing that one, but I'm seeing somebody with the same thing, but within a subwoofer, like the port.
God, I love this. Connect more with your family. They miss you and want to check in. It's been 4 weeks in a row. You've been playing your original vertical checkers game.
Every night is anime night, says Thundercat.
Give a man to teach a hot dog a day. Eat a man to give a hot dog a lifetime. Steven Seagal.
I had a dream somebody shitted on my chest like Sylvester Stallone and was mad when I woke up because it didn't happen.
It's kind of surreal to just see like on 8th and 7th of September. Obviously, he's doing his Mac Miller tributes kind of because I believe they collaborated quite a lot. And then a week later, not even a week later, you start seeing shit like the flashlight on the fan.
Here's a great quote that helps understand Thundercat inside and out. I feel like Sasuke. That explains everything you need to know.
There's also a post of someone who's done some at Thundercat art I did a while back, and it's this fan pencil drawing of him, and then it's got Pornhub in the background.
He seems like a cool dude.
Yeah, it's just a pretty good Twitter. This is yeah, it can get better, it can get worse. It's kind of, yeah, it is kind of a trip to go through.
Yeah.
Oh, and he's just got a picture of a car crashing through a window. I love it.
This trombone photo, I'm fucking loving.
That's a mood and a half. It's a for those who can't see, obviously, it's a picture of a of someone. I can't see too much what type of person they are. Just lying down on the street, kind of just refusing to get up, but they have a trombone and they're still playing it.
Good. Play that trombone.
I used to play the trombone as a kid. I regret it.
I used to play the oboe.
It's not a good instrument.
It's the most unsexy instrument.
The oboe is, yes. Trombone, that's alright.
No, trombone is the most unsexy.
Have you heard
I hope you realize, though, there was one thing about the trombone, though, that I don't regret, and that's my ability to blow. Thank you.
Ooh.
An oboe is so shrill they use it to tune the orchestra.
Yeah. It's the greatest tuning instrument of all time. But are you sure? I was gonna say maybe the bagpipes or the accordion would be less sexy.
Bagpipes
but
are a sexy instrument.
Yeah, bagpipes are pretty sexy.
Actually. I mean, do you know how many pipes you have to blow through? And they're all in a bag?
Yeah. You only have to blow through the one pipe. You inflate the bag and you're squeezing the bag and it's just blowing through all the other pipes.
Okay, what about the recorder?
Have you ever seen a professional recorder player?
Have you ever? No. Why would I see that?
They are fucking impressive, dude.
It's like that. It's like that meme of the Titanic played on a penny whistle.
Okay. What about the kazoo?
Doesn't Weird Al play the kazoo?
You can play a kazoo through a fuzz pedal and it sounds amazing.
Weird Al plays the accordion.
I feel like he also plays the kazoo for fun.
Which is why the accordion isn't the least sexy, I guess, actually. Weird Al probably actually makes that instrument sexy.
Oh, he can. Weird Al can make anything sexy.
Has Weird Al done a Kendrick Lamar cover yet?
Oh, I wonder. What would A, would he dare? B, what would it be?
All right, I'm going to be doing Kendrick Lamar's King Kunta to parody here. Its song's called "I've Got No Legs." Oh boy!
I think you missed the point there, baby.
Anyway, before this gets even worse, shall we wrap up the Kendrick Lamar one? I feel like we've committed some crimes for being short on this, but we're kind of just all afraid to talk about it, and we may as well move on.
Yeah.
I think it's one of the best albums we've listened to on the podcast, but I know I'm alone in that opinion.
I mean, it's nowhere near even average. It's still up there with great albums that we've covered. but like it just doesn't hit me as much as it hits you.
Yeah.
I mean, I've had the time and like the experience of like listening to it over time, so maybe it's that. I don't know.
Look, I'll say it's definitely one of the best CDs I've ever found for $1 in an op shop.
Second time you said that recently too.
Any CD I find for $1 is a good CD. Did you know that Yellow Card had another album?
How many albums do
I
they
do
have?
now. At least 2.
I think they had like 3 or 4, I want to say.
Oh yeah, they have an acoustic version of the album with Ocean Avenue. Does that count as another?
Sure, we'll count it for Yellow Card.
They have like let's see here. Oh, they've got the AOL Sessions EP. Ooh, that's dating it.
Remember the AOL sessions? Weren't those magical times?
Let's see here. Their first album was One for the Kids, Ocean Avenue, Lights and Sounds, Paper Walls.
I got Lights and Sounds.
When you're through thinking, say yes. Southern Air, Lift a Sail, self-titled Yellow Card.
Actually, no. Sorry, I got Lift a Sail. I thought I had Lights and Sounds.
Oh.
They have 10 albums.
Damn. And no one listens to them.
Yeah.
I know.
But they still sued Juice WRLD.
That was a great moment. What did they sue him against off?
Because one song sounded similar.
It'd be like if Balue sued Golden Earring because his song sounds like Twilight Zone.
Well, other way around, really.
Shall we move on to our last?
Well, do you have any least favorite songs?
Favorite was King Kunta. Least favorite is Mortal Man.
I didn't listen to this enough to have a favorite or least favorite.
Favorite's probably Alright, King Kunta. Least favorite, I'd probably say Mama. Yeah. Alright, then let's go on to the big surprise of the week. Powderfinger.
Odyssey No. 5, 20 years, baby, 20 years. So, you remember how I was talking about, like, no one talks about Powderfinger's debut?
Yeah.
Yeah, did I tell you what genre they were when they started off?
Metal.
Yeah. Good. Yeah, they weren't good.
I heard they got booed off stage. At least once in their early career.
They tried to do metal, and I guess that's why they got the cover of Number of the Beast here, which was very interesting, actually.
Not metal at all.
I did not like that. Oh, I did not.
It's still interesting, though.
No, I fucking hated that.
It's a soft rock cover of a metal song.
There's a difference between hating. There's a difference between hating and then finding it interesting. You can interestingly hate it.
Oh, I don't even want to listen to it. It was grating because, like, I'm expecting like all this like fucking fancy bass work because I'm a big fan of Steve Harris. I'm a bass player, and like I didn't hear any of that, and that was just like a big crime. Like even if they did keyboard left hand, I would have been cool with it. But no, there was no fucking bass line on Number of the Beast, and that's what I know Number of the Beast for.
Think about Number of the Beast. This cover of it. It's like if you went to a random concert of like some musicians from the 70s or 80s. And you ask them to do Number of the Beast as a cover just on stage, this is probably what they would have done.
Yeah.
Like if Journey covered Number of the Beast at a concert at like fucking the State Fair, it would be this.
I don't hate it as much as you two seem to hate it. Obviously, it's not as good as the original. We're not gonna try and claim it, but
well, I mean,
they've tried to cover.
State Fair by me.
They did it as a B-side to the song "The Meter." They did it in the style that they were doing for the album. I got no problems with that. It's fine.
Well, the thing for me is all their other covers were much better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Transmission sounded like a New Order song or
Joy Division song.
Yeah.
They're the same band.
I mean, Let 'Em Dangle was very good. It's an Elvis Costello song. I don't know Elvis Costello, and that made me interested in learning more.
You don't know Elvis Costello?
No. I know who he is. I just never listened much to him.
He's the other Elvis.
He made the Jazz Master famous.
As a kid,
I
I
don't
was
know,
I
so
always
with
confused
the-
Elvis Costello and Chubby Checkers. So
That's interesting. And then we also have like the alternative versions of a couple songs. We have an acoustic "My Happiness," which is very, very similar, up and down and back again. Also, like the acoustic versions
we're
were kind of
not
safe, to be honest.
Yeah, I'm surprised they didn't put in the other version of These Days, because that would have been a much more interesting inclusion.
No, because that's on Internationalist Deluxe, because that was a B-side to an Internationalist song.
Well, the two versions of These Days, from what I gathered, one was made for the movie, The Two Hands, with Heath Ledger, and then the
one was included with the movie. It was made for the B-side to the single of Passenger, which
Right.
came out in 1999, which was during the Internationalist days.
Right, so I'm assuming
that's why it's on Internationalist Deluxe instead of this. That's the answer.
Okay, because I would assume that's the version, that's that version, and then they make the fuller version for this album.
Yeah, well, they re-recorded the song for the album because B-sides are like, well, singles don't sell as well as albums.
No.
So they may as well like, hey, if we put this on here as well and re-record it, people go like, it's also very helpful in case if none of the other songs ended up becoming a hit.
Yeah.
Go like, well, we got this hit on here. Obviously, as we can see, other songs in this album did become a hit.
I mean, when you put My Kind of Scene in Mission Impossible 2, it kind of has to become a hit, doesn't it?
Yeah, kind of. Well, there was a couple songs that apparently I remember reading that they wanted to put into Mission Impossible.
Yeah.
I think Up and Down and Back Again was originally meant to be, but they chose My Kind of Scene instead.
It was those two songs and what is it? Whatever Makes You Happy. Yeah, Whatever Makes You Happy. That was the third song they had chosen. Then they chose My Kind of Scene.
And then there's obviously for anyone who's grown up in Australia, this song My Happiness, which is just, I mean, that's one of the biggest alternative songs that over here of the noughties.
I understand where Bad Graders comes from now.
Yeah.
And I mean, the sound progression of Powderfinger over the years is insane when you go into it. Like, they started off as a metal band, second album was grunge, third they've gotten to a bit more alternative, and then sorry, they technically their first two I think was metal because this is their fifth. So, and then third was grunge. Fourth, they finally get into that kind of alternative indie style, I guess, but it has a lot more. It has a bit of pop into it as well, and then here it's just kind of classic noughties alternative.
I even like some some 90s alternative in there too.
Yeah,
like it really
I guess
bends
it
that
helps
line
as well. Where this comes straight after Internationalist, and this is like 2000.
Yeah,
this album that came out, so
Yeah.
that helps.
Waiting
Currently,
for
Bernard Fanning is the only person in Triple J's Hottest 100 history from calendar years that gets to claim 3 wins, and Powderfinger's the only band that gets to claim 2, and they got it 2 in a row with These
Wow.
Days in My Happiness, and it's a feat that has just never been replicated. That's just kind of how big this album was.
I mean, they were like the biggest band in Australia, basically, weren't they?
Yeah, pretty much. You could probably have Bernard Fanning run for office, and he'll probably win 99% of the votes to 1%. The public image of Powderfinger in Australia is just so positive; it's insane.
Would you agree with me if I said "Waiting for the Sun" is like an REM song?
I wouldn't disagree with you.
I mean,
It's definitely in one of the kind of later REM moments that it is into the. I mean, granted, a lot of early REM was a bit more. Well, they were around in the grunge era, so they also had a bit of influence from that.
I'm just thinking this one goes out to the one I love is that song I was thinking of. Like some of the vocal progression has a similar cadence to it, or cadence or like.
I can somewhat see what I can somewhat see what you're going for, and somewhat can't. I don't know. Anyway, I'm gonna leave it up to you two to say what what you think the big kind of highlights were. Because I'm too biased to say which one.
I have more lowlights than I do highlights, I guess. Overall, I
Really?
enjoyed the album, but I feel like a lot of the extra stuff just kind of felt like tacked on and didn't really like add to the
Yes.
album at all.
Do you mean to the deluxe?
Yes.
The deluxe
Yeah.
parts. I'm just talking about the actual main album first.
I was all pretty solid.
Yeah, I would agree. It's a great base of just knowledge and just solid music.
Yeah.
There was fretless bass on one of the songs. I think it was what was it? I think it was on either Trilogy or We Should Be Together Now. But I was like not expecting to hear fretless bass on this.
I should also note when we ranked this album, like we were just ranking the main album. I've just put on the 20th anniversary stuff because we're kind of celebrating that stuff, and there are still it's interesting.
I'm ranking
To
this
see them
album as
do
a,
some
as the
covers.
20th anniversary album.
Yeah.
That is the version that I listened to.
Oh, I'm just saying the
I mean-
original Odyssey number 5 is on here, and I'm just saying.
I mean,
my order doesn't change for that, anyways.
Yeah.
And we ranked the Cygnus X1 saga as its own thing because it had an E EP.
That one was.
I also didn't have you listen to Hemispheres and the other album, Farewell to Kings.
Well, we didn't need to because it had its own official release. It's just that saga. That was okay.
Yeah.
Well, like, yeah, what I'm saying is that this is an album we just added on deluxe tracks, and the reason why I've added on the deluxe tracks is because celebrating the 20th anniversary. It's not to rank the album as 20th anniversary. It's just that, well, these are all the B-sides and stuff like that. I was probably going to try and make you listen to some of them anyway, so if you could just put them in here for listening.
And I appreciate that. I might do that in the future for an album or something. But I think we should know where the album ends, but we should also just concede to the fact
I've told you
that,
where the album ends. It ends at whatever makes you happy.
Right. I'm saying we can acknowledge that, but we can also rank the album, the entire thing, because there are more B-sides than there are songs, basically.
Well, yeah.
So we listen to mostly B-sides.
Actually, no, because it's 21. There's 11 main songs, 10 B-sides.
Oh shit, you're right. Close enough though. It's like half and half then.
Yeah.
So it's like,
I mean, I personally, you two can rank it however you want. This is a free podcast. But I personally am just going to rank this as the album itself. Because we're not going to go back to the album and just say, all right, now we've done 20th anniversary, we'll go and do regular Odyssey number 5 at one point. We're not going to do that.
there was a reason to. That'd be different, but there's not.
Yeah, no, because... Yeah. Anyway, well... Next question I had for you two, because the only other song that I made you listen to that wasn't on here was the original version of These Days. Which one do you two prefer?
I didn't get to it.
Well, I mean,
Tricks, you're useless to me.
the album version is much better.
Really? Don't disagree, I don't agree. I personally think they both have their certain charms to it.
Like, it reminds me of like hearing a demo versus hearing the completed version.
Well, I mean, I guess the big reason for that is that it's a B-side versus a properly recorded for an album.
Right. And like, if they recorded it for a movie, who knows how long they had or what they did with it. So
the original version has that certain kind of it has a bit of lo-fi on it. It's kind of like
it's a bit compressed.
He's putting this song out on here because it's not supposed to be this proper big song. It's just supposed to be this charming little song, kind of. That's what I always get from it. And they're both great versions.
I think that song in particular kind of has the whole kind of philosophy I have for the whole album, which is that in the wrong hands, a lot of these songs would seem really earnest and really cheesy. But with Powderfinger, they somehow make it so that they seem really genuine and nice.
I mean, it also helps that, like, they were.
Yeah. Like there'd be such an easy tendency to just kind of be cynical about up and down and back again or whatever makes you happy.
Because I'm trying to remember the context of these days, but I believe what helped. I think it was something like his cousin or his brother or something. Came down with cancer or something when they were writing it.
Hmm.
But I couldn't remember if that is correct. I'm trying to find the context of this. Oh, so one thing that we didn't cover but probably could have is Thelma Plum doing a cover of it.
Yeah, I read about that. Do you know she did that after recovering from COVID?
Uh I got no clue.
Because she did the thing in May, or it was released in May, and she had COVID in March. So I'm curious. She
Probably
recovered.
not.
Yeah, it's like
Probably
just
recorded beforehand.
it's just long enough where I think it's I don't know. Like maybe she didn't have that big of a that much of a reaction. Wasn't that big of a case. I don't know.
I love the response to this. So just to the success of These Days, and just reading These Days topped the Triple J Hottest 100 chart in 1999, and it was voted Song of the Year of the 2000 Music Critics Award. In response to the award wins, Powderfinger said they were excited that they were voted #1 in the listener poll. Fanning jokingly said that we worked out that being #1 on the Hottest 100 makes us the biggest band in the world because it's the biggest music poll in the world. Before going on to make a mockery of the band's longtime antagonist Ben Lee by saying, "We remembered we can't be the biggest band in the world because Ben Lee is the biggest in the world." Fanning continued to publicly insult Lee, eventually calling him a precocious little cunt in 2005. What a paragraph.
Who is Ben Lee?
That is a trip.
Ben Lee is a pretty popular singer-songwriter here. He's done a lot of stuff overseas, but like with writing, but he isn't so publicly credited. He's currently doing music with Josh Radnor from How I Met Your Mother fame.
Who was
is alright folk music.
Who was the band we covered that hated Oasis?
All of them?
But I feel like there was one band particularly we read about that was like they announced that Oasis broke up.
Fuck, I can't remember. I can't remember from. I don't know if
any
that
of
was
us here are big Oasis.
Because they broke up at the concert, and then they were going on to announce it.
Oh yeah, I remember that Oasis breakup announcement. God, this was
I don't think any of us are really big Oasis fans. At least
Nah.
I could be.
Okay, Oasis breakup celebration. Who?
Like I'm trying to go back through our because I know I read about that in preparation for the podcast.
I remember. I'm searching it up. Who hated Oasis enough?
Was it Block Party? I think it was Block Party.
Yeah, possibly actually. That's yeah, because I thought it had to be another fucking English band at least. Blah blah blah.
Yes, Kayleigh announced their breakup on stage.
That's yeah. Let's see. Blah blah blah. Yep, feud with Oasis. There it is. Yeah, because he called the Gallagher brothers inbred twins.
Yes.
What a comment! What a beautiful comment.
Anyway, but the thing you were just reading reminded me of that.
Yeah, there's always artists who have feuds with another. I don't know the extent of the hate with Ben Lee. Ben Lee's not a bad singer songwriter. I don't know enough about his personal life to make comments on that. I don't know. I like the song "Cigarettes Will Kill You" though.
Never heard him. Maybe put him on the podcast. I don't know.
Probably won't. His albums don't interest me enough.
Fair.
Trying to think of any other big moments. I mean, I like My Happiness a lot. Obviously, I think it's one of the It's a really calming song, despite its content kind of being somewhat about the stress of touring.
Yeah.
We Should Be Together Now is a huge contrasting moment that just hits perfectly in its time. Phreology is probably the one with the fretless bass, because I think that's actually the most like interestingly constructed song that they put out on this album.
Yeah, the changes and
I feel like that was
dynamically
the furthest.
shifting things are really cool in there. Like the last half of Threology was probably one of my favorite highlights of the whole album.
Like a Dog is probably the most political song of this album, which talks about John Howard, the Prime Minister at the time's treatment of Aboriginal people, especially with his lines about saying sorry to the stolen generations and stuff like that. Good thing it only took another 10 years and a different Prime Minister for that to happen.
Yeah, they seem like a solid band, like a solid bunch of guys.
Yeah.
They're
I'd
they didn't want
I'd
to
say
sell
the
out.
meter is probably the least interesting song off this album.
I didn't like it for
I
the
don't know.
strings, for like the opening was
It-
very
it's-
THX.
The position where it's on in the album helps it a lot, but like it's the one song I just don't really go back to individually.
Yeah,
Like,
the
it's not
whiplash from My
skips.
Happiness is really cool. I do appreciate that.
The kind of interlude track of Odyssey No. 5 is kind of fascinating. And then it's weird, like this album, which has been kind of calming for a lot of it, actually only has one acoustic track, and it's at the end.
What's so interesting about Odyssey number 5? You think?
It has this kind of real interlude vibe to the opening riffs, but then kind of becomes its own song, and then kind
Yeah.
of fizzles out, and then goes into up and down and back again.
Yeah.
It's something that feels like, why does it exist? But then the more you listen to it, it's like you kind of can't see the album going without it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's nice to have.
I would
Going
say
on
this album surprised me. I was expecting another something for Kate, and expecting to not really like it as much as you guys did, but it really took me for surprise, and I really like this album, and I'm gonna come back to it.
Yeah, I don't know how like if it's gonna stick with me overall, but I did dig it. I did enjoy it.
Plus, some of the other B-sides we didn't talk about with Nature Boy is probably the best B-side of the deluxe
Yeah,
part.
it is.
I mean, I did like their cover of Let 'Em Dangle. I like their cover of Rocket Reduced to number 62.
Transmission's probably pretty good as well. I actually say that Whatever Makes You Happy, the piano version, is probably the most boring out of all of them.
I think the other acoustic were a bit more boring because they were not as different.
I don't know, it's just that, I mean, yeah, but they're still such good songs anyway that...
Like, the piano version of Whatever Makes You Happy is like, if you just took the vocals, that'd be a good karaoke.
Just trying to think, but like, maybe not. Anyway, I haven't got much more to say about this. I don't know if this is going to be our large and talking album, but not album, podcast episode, but
Yeah, it's a
42
pretty short one.
episodes in, and we're still fucking up.
Not every episode is gonna have amazing things.
Yeah,
They can't
I
all
mean,
be singers.
these are all albums you kind of need to listen to or down in the case of Baloo.
You sound disappointed, so listen to it for tricks.
Listen to it for tricks. Well, listen to it for Baloo. Baloo's the one that's going to get money from you listening to it.
It's a good album. I own it on vinyl.
Well,
You know,
everyone likes vinyl.
favorites on this is obviously These Days and My Happiness. They're just really strong, but there's not really any bad song off the main album. I'd probably say my least favorite of this whole thing is probably those pianos and acoustics. I'd probably go with the piano version though. It just didn't really. I didn't hate the Number of the Beast. I know you two did, but I didn't hate
I
it.
didn't hate it. I just didn't like it. I accept it for what it is. It's fine.
I thought it was interesting enough of a color. The fun thing about B-sides and stuff like that is that they don't have to be perfect.
No.
As long as they're interesting, that's what I care about, and it's an interesting cover.
I liked Waiting for the Sun, My Happiness. These days, I think it's probably the highlight, though. I really like.
Yeah. Many people consider it the highlight. It's on all the all-time polls, and at least the last one that happened for Triple J got number 8, and it was the highest Powderfinger song.
And of course, like you said, the acoustic ones are probably my least favorite. Then the cover of Never of the Beast, also down there in least favorite.
Tricks is all on you.
Favorite Thrillology, you know the one I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Thrillology.
Thrill House.
Thrill-o-edgy.
There's an oil in there. There's an oil.
Thrill-oilgy.
Thrill-orgy.
Sounded like you were saying orgy there. Let's continue on to the next one.
Thrill-orgy is up there. Fretless bass. Love me some fretless bass. Nature Boy for being the best B-side. Least favorites is obviously going to be Number of the Beast. Ugh.
What's your least favorite off the main album?
I didn't listen enough to really pick one.
And with that, we shall go into the rankings. Trix, you said yours is going to be the most controversial, didn't you?
Yeah, I guess so.
We'll leave you to last then.
All right.
I'll go first. Number 3 is Balue. Number 2 is Powderfinger. Number 1 is Kendrick to Pimp a Butterfly. And the thing I'm going to say is I'm going to make this call now. I think To Pimp a Butterfly finally dethrones In the Aeroplane Over the Sea for me.
Oh, wow.
I think Aeroplane Over the Sea is so personally going to be my favorite album, on a personal level, but in terms of execution and just the world of sound it builds, I think To Pimp a Butterfly is the better album.
I disagree personally, but I mean, that's the fun of personal. But number 3, I agree, is Balue. That's just not going to change, I reckon. Number 2 is To Pimp a Butterfly. I mean, we have a strong fight between number 2 and number 1. But I admit my bias. Number 1's Powderfinger. I grew up with this album. I'm not biased.
For me, I'm actually not going to put Baloo as number 1 this time. I figured you thought I would.
No, I didn't think you'd put it as number 1. I think the controversy was about to be what you call number 3.
Yeah, it's To Pimp a Butterfly. I appreciate the album, but
it's what? You didn't cut out.
It's not for
me. It's not for her.
Yeah, not for her.
Yeah, I can understand why it's great, but it's not for me.
And then your number 2 is Powderfinger, I'm guessing. Or no, it's Balue, and then number 1's Powderfinger.
Yes.
Yep.
So she is Pimp Butterfly at 3, Balue 2, Powderfinger 1. We're all different.
Now, here's a fun thing going into picking the albums for next week. I can't remember if we had a theme or not or anything, but point being, I don't have an album.
You gave me. You said you were going to do Hermitude by Hyper Paradise at one point, so that's what I had down.
You know what? I'll let you two choose, and I'll decide if I'm going to stick with that.
All right, I'll go first. The album I'm going to do is Hood Rat Scumbags by Beach Goons.
Oh, that's not what I have at all. You also had something down.
Yeah, I changed my mind on that one. But
Hood Rat Scumbags?
Yeah, Hood Rat Scumbags, all one word, by Beach Goons, no caps, so it's Hood Rat.
Yeah.
Hood Rat
I found it. That's a very interesting album, huh?
Yeah, it is prime Spanish surf punk.
Okay.
But there's some really interesting interludes.
Interesting.
Dominic?
Well, like I said last week, this is going to be a 2-week little saga. So we're gonna continue with Kendrick. I'm gonna go on to his companion album for To Pimp a Butterfly, which is called Untitled Unmastered, which is basically the B-sides.
I never actually got around to listening to this, so this is actually going to be a first for me.
There's at least one song in there I really, really like. I think I wish he could have finished it for the album.
So I'm going to go through all of the albums that we've gone through, and I just want to make sure if we've actually done this genre before. Like I think we have, but I think only once.
Of like
I mean, if
B-sides?
it's ska, we've
No,
done
no.
Hotels.
Oh, the one that I'm about to choose. So yeah, I think I'm the only one who's chosen it, and we've done it twice before it seems, and that's the house electronic genre.
I
'Cause
have
I
a
did
couple
it,
in mind, but I just haven't gotten
yeah,
around to
because I
them.
did it with Bag Raiders, obviously, and then I did it with Flight Facilities, and I don't think we've done any outside of that.
Well, Crystal Castles is kind of electronic.
Yeah, but it's not really housey.
No, it's not.
I have
And
a electronic-y album in mind that I need to do eventually.
but I'm probably gonna pick the on this one. I know it's a bit of an overhype, but it's one that I remember getting when it released, or at least my brother getting, and it wasn't even like my hype release for the week, but it ended up becoming one of my favorite albums of this year. And oh, that not this year, that year, sorry, because it's a couple years old, and it's probably one of the best Australian house albums ever released, which isn't that high of a bar, admittedly. It's Rufus Du Sol's Bloom.
Wow.
And there's a lot of umlauts in that, so care.
All right, it's
Rufus.
Rufus Du Sol.
Originally called Rufus here, but always called Rufus Du Sol in America until they said fuck it, we hate having to call ourselves two things, and now they're just Rufus Du Sol everywhere.
Okay, well
So you'll probably see the album art with them, and the title says Rufus on it.
that's the second album we've had on this podcast called Bloom.
Yeah.
It's the better Bloom. Both done by Australians.
Yeah, we'll see if it's better. I'm gonna wait and judge when I get the chance to listen to it.
Yeah.
Because I might hate it. Who knows?
Who knows?
Until then, though, I have been Renan. You can catch me at my website, renanforkids.github.io. You can check out the game dev project that I'm working on, because by the time that this episode goes up, I still won't have my website updated. Just like our website at dissonantwaves.space. I also have a YouTube channel where I don't post anything, but I'm more likely to post my game dev stuff on there than I am on my website at this point, so you may as well check that stuff out. We also have Tricks, who will now say their links, because I can't remember them off the top of my head.
You can find me on Twitter at procrastinaut_. That's like procrastinating astronaut with an underscore at the end of it. And I also have a YouTube channel where I do bass stuff. And I will be unboxing a new bass soonish. And we have the Dissonant Waves Twitter account, which is just at Dissonant Waves. And Callum already went over the onto you.
Okay, I'm Dominic. As always, you can catch me on Twitter at DACICHOCKI. I'm also at a writer at tiltingwindmillstudios.com. That's about it. I have a YouTube, but it's not really worth watching. It's just game clips and old weird stuff I put on there. That's gonna do it for us, though. Unless anyone has anything else to say, speak now or forever hold your peace.
No.
I eat my peas.
Rock and roll pee your pans.
Thanks, Phil.
Well,